Hello friends, my name is Saurabh Chaturvedi and I welcome you all from this prestigious platform of Drishti IAS. Today we are here to discuss the paper of Civil Services Mains 2022 and I'm going to discuss the segment of internal security here. As you all know that internal security is not like a separate paper in our syllabus. But when you go to GS3, then along with economics, technology, there is an important segment of internal security which is generally kind of neglected or ignored by the student because we don't have that much study material, that much awareness about this particular topic. But what we have seen in last few years that this segment is having a vital value in your exam and in your selection, because every year there are 4 to 5 questions from this particular segment. If we go through the year-wise question analysis, then you can see here that every year there are 2 questions of 250 words and 2 questions of 150 words from this segment in last 5 years, except from one in 2019 when there is a question of 40 marks. Every year sustainably we have the questions of 50 marks from this segment. Now, to prepare internal security, you need not to go through plethora of books and too many articles and all. All you need to have is an open eye and ear and exposure to your surroundings where different events related to internal security happen. And once you are aware of all this, then it is very easy to answer these questions with little bit of study. Generally, to answer 4 and 5 questions, one need to go through so many books and the notes of around 500 pages. But in internal security, if you have limited notes of around 100 pages and a study of 10-15 classes, then you can be easily able to answer such questions. If I analyze the paper of this year, in holistic manner, then I'll say 2 or 3 things. The first will be that the questions this year are completely traditional, having limited association with the current affairs. And this is the trend in internal security segment, that one year they ask almost all the questions related to recent incidents or current events, and sometimes they ask very traditional question where they have the opinion of understanding the reason and the remedies which are available for the problems of internal security. So what I believe that in this year's paper, we have the questions from 4 areas. We have a question from the linkage between development and extremism, where the question of Naxalism comes, and they ask Naxalism in a manner that it is not only a socio-economic problem, but we need to take care it in a multidimensional manner. Then we have 2 questions related to, one is related to cyber security, and this cyber security question, if you will see, along with other questions of internal security, and there is a question related to organized crime and terrorism. So the cyber security question, they have asked the multiple approaches to resolve the problem of cyber security related to national security. So they have asked about the organizational measures, the technical measures, the procedural measures for this purpose. The nexus between terrorism and organized crime is another question which is asked. So this is there. And one question is which is not mentioned here, it is related to the border security, which is the maritime security. So generally the questions are asked from land security, but this time the question is there from the maritime security, ocean boundary security in a different aspects, and different measures are asked. In almost all the questions, the pattern is more or less the same. They are going to ask you the reason for these security challenges and the multidimensional remedies or the efforts that we have made, or the remedies which are available through which we can take care of these security problems. So now one by one we are going to discuss the questions, and in this way you will be able to analyze that how these questions of internal security this year are quite simple in nature, quite easy in nature, quite traditional in nature, and not very much research is required to answer such questions. But as I always say that when there are simple questions, you need to write exceptional. and when there are exceptional questions, you need to write it in a simple manner. So because these questions are very simple, traditional, then the formatting of the answer and the presentation of answer becomes the key, because when everyone knows everything, then the difference is made through the presentation. So here presentation, formatting, flow of answer is going to be the key to fetch the marks in the different questions of this year. Apart from 2022, there is also a slide telling you that how many questions are asked from which segment. So this will be helpful for you to analyze the questions that may come in the next year's exam. So let us move ahead with the first question. And the first question here, as it goes, discuss the types of organized crimes, describe the linkage between the terrorist and organized crime that exist at the national and transnational level. So whenever you read the question, read it twice, thrice to understand the demand of the question, as everyone says. And here, there are three areas that we need to answer in 150 words. First, the type of organized crimes that we need to answer. Second, the nexus between terrorism and organized crime, the linkage between terrorism and organized crime, that how this linkage is going to get established, how this linkage got established in the previous time. And once the linkage is there, that linkage can be shown at national and international level. Even if it is not there in asked in the question, you need to tell that how this linkage can be broken. What measures should be taken or are already taken to break this linkage so that this nexus is not going to hamper the internal security of the nation. So, while answering this question, I will make a format of 5 steps. First, defining organized crime with its types. And this will be in, you can say, around 30 to 50 words. Then linkage between organized crime and terror. This will be the major area of question where we are going to discuss it in 2 ways. Why this linkage and how this linkage. That is why they came together, why they started doing the complementary role, and how they are helping each other. So the answer will be in 2 ways, why and how. And we are going to answer it, say, in 40 words each, 30 to 40 words each. And at the last level, you are going to answer again in 30 to 50 words. That what are the efforts that have been made to break this linkage between terrorism and organized crime. So my suggestion will be that all this formatting should be there in your mind, but not in the time that we are taking right now. All this formatting of answer can be done within your brain in the time of almost 15 to 30 seconds when you are giving the exams. So while giving the exam, this kind of formatting, while reading the question, you can process the question in your brain and you can format it in 4 to 5 parts so that you will be able to answer. Now you can see that there can be 4 to 5 paragraphs which can be written, or the points that can be written, and if you want to save the word, then you can have a flow chart or the presentation in the pictorial form that can be helpful in answering this question. Now let us go in detail that how we are going to do it. So the first part where we need to define the organized crime, we can say like this, that organized crime is the linkage of crime and criminality, where the criminals of different spheres come together for their complementary need. Because of their nature of criminality, both terrorism and organized crime are started seeing association with each other in the recent time, and this association is seen in different ways. So this can be one way of introducing it. Another way can be that organized crime and terrorism both have inherent rejection for the land of law and a kind of revolt for the system, and because of this criminality and rebellious nature, they come together for their selfish needs, and this nexus is harmful for the security of the nation. Now, these 15-20 words will define organized crime, and then moving forward you will say that these organized crimes can have multiple presentations. Some are traditional, some are modern. The traditional organized crimes can be prostitution, gambling, different mafias like forest mafia, mining mafias, etc., illegal, illicit alcohol, and in modern times we have drug trafficking, arms trafficking, organ trafficking, smuggling, human trafficking, education mafia, health mafia, and these different ways of organized crime are not only associated internally, but now they are getting associated with terrorism. So you can mention 4 to 5 names of traditional organized crime and 4 to 5 names of modern organized crime. There is not very much scope to elaborate these crimes, so mentioning the name will be sufficient so that you will be able to answer the things in a confined manner. So the word limit that we have defined, 30 to 50 words. Now from here, now we will move ahead to the major area of question, which is related to the linkage. Now, when we discuss about the linkage, this word, as I said, we need to answer it in two ways: why this linkage is there and how this linkage is there. So why can be presented in the answer in point-wise manner, and there you can write like this, that previously organized crime and terrorism, both are different from each other, because terrorism has an ideology where organized crime has having selfish motive of earning money. Terrorism was against the system, organized crime was working from within the system. Terrorism is using violence as a mean and end both, whereas organized crime, violence is the last resort. They believe in corruption, in manipulation, in nepotism and other kind of thing. We can also say that in terrorism, the goal is to achieve the ideology, whereas in organized crime, we always have the selfish motive of earning money. So, in the beginning you will say that prior to 1990s, there is much difference between organized crime and terrorism, and you can define 1 or 2 differences over here. Now once you have defined it in 10-15 words, then you can say, but after 1990s, due to various reasons, we see they are coming together. One, LPG made organized crime people unemployed, because the kind of smuggling they used to do was not possible after LPG. So LPG made them to get into those illicit trade which are related to terrorism, like drug trafficking, arms trafficking, where previously they were involved in doing, you can say, the smuggling of electronic goods, the smuggling of clothes, the smuggling of electronic items, toys, plastics, etc. But when LPG allowed all these things to come smoothly, then it is for the organized crime to go for the new things, new job, and this new job to organized crime is provided by terrorism in the form of money laundering, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking, etc. Second reason will be, you can say, the ICT revolution. This ICT revolution made connectivity easier. So now the mafias, the dons of different at different places can have an access with the terrorist throughout the world with the help of information and communication technology, and this helped them to come together. The third thing which helped them was the idea of globalization. This idea of globalization opened the boundaries, and while with opening up of boundaries, what we have seen that both terrorist and organized crime, they found ways of cooperation, ways of coordination, ways of integration. So with the areas of integration, areas of cooperation, they generally comes together. They find the mutual association. Then Bombay blast, the blast of 1992 after Babri Masjid, this turned organized crime face from Robin Hood to anti-national. Like Dawood, who was the face of organized crime, now turned into terrorist because he got involved in Bombay bomb blast. So with Bombay blast, the image of organized crime turned from Robin Hood to anti-national, one thing. Second, now their nexus with politician, police, security personnel was no longer there. Previously, organized crime works with an internal setting with the administrative setup. But now for the image of administration, it is required that they will not show any kind of association with the terrorist. And that is why this nexus was broken, which was the basis of organized crime. So what you can see, and it is shown in different web series also, that 1990s two incidents, one is LPG and second is the Bombay blast. These two things motivated organized crime or compelled organized crime to get associated with terrorism, especially in the case of India. So you can define these reasons by saying that these are the reasons why terrorism and organized crime came together. And once they came together, now they show association with each other in a different ways. So now we are going to deal with this aspect of answer where we are going to define how this association is seen. Let us see. If we'll say this is organized crime and this is terrorism. Now we can define both of them as a non-state factors that threatens the internal security of the nation. So they get associated with each other because of their nature and because of requirement. So what I'll say that the linkage between these two is seen where organized crime helps terrorist and the terrorist in turn helps organized crime. Now how this help can be seen? Organized crime is going to give ideological propagation to the terrorism. They can promote their ideology. They can create propaganda against government, against their military personnel. So this organized crime network can be helpful in promoting the ideology of terror. Then they can help them in recruitment. They can help them through funding. They can help them through training. They can create sleeper cells for them. And while executing in the execution of terror plan, they can be very much useful because right from entry into the nation, like in Hindi, we generally say Pravesh, Prashray, Pahunch, Paisa, Prashikshan. As we all know that from this Karachi-Mumbai terror route, the entry of terrorists was possible because of the help of organized crime. Once they enter the territory of India, cross-border terrorism, cross-water terrorism, तो सीमा पार से आए या पानी के पार आए, cross-border or cross-water terrorism, then these people lives in the shelter of organized crime. There, they got trained, they got all the facilities, they get all the resources which are required to carry out the terror activities. Now the task will be is to provide them with logistics. So the logistic of terror is provided with the help of organized crime. Like if they need cars, if they need weapons, if they need the material to create bombs, all this will be provided with the help of organized crime. Then, because of their nexus in the administration, because of their linkage in the administration, because of their penetration in the administration, these organized crime people help them to get to Taj Hotel, to get to Parliament, to get to those strategic places where the entry of general public is restricted. And this is what we call access. And once they have access to those strategic positions, locations, now from their terror activities can create, you can say, much more menace as compared to terror activities at other places. And this is how what we have seen in the recent time, organized crime network is helping terrorists in a different way. Now, on the other hand, terrorism is going to give them the main thing that they want, that is the money. The money with the trade of drugs, the money with the trade of human, the money with the trade of, you can say, weapons, and also they have also given them job of money laundering. And money laundering, if you remember, that all the dirty money that comes into the nation, with the help of organized crime, it get invested in the real estate, in Bollywood and in other places, as told by Mr. M.K. Narayanan, our ex-security advisor. So they are giving them different, a kind of employment, new employment, which is not there with organized crime. They also give them opportunity to launder their money and earn more and more money. They also give them shelter if required, like we have seen that when Daud left India, then the shelter was given by these terror outfits at the different places in Pakistan, Afghanistan, whatever you say. So protection to such people can also be given in the terror affected countries or the countries where terror outfits are in position to give shelter. So both have complementary needs with each other, although their nature may differ, their goals may differ. But you can say that their goals may differ, but their nature, their working, their procedural abilities and their complementary needs brings them together, and this linkage is harmful for the security of the nation. So, in the last part, as we have asked, although it is not asked in question, we will say that how this linkage can be broken. We can have statutory measures, where we can have the different acts for different kind of organized crime, like we have Anti-Gambling Act of 1872, we have Prevention of Immoral Traffic Act, we have Bounded Labor Abolition Act, we have Child Labor Abolition Act, we have Forest Protection Act, Forest Protection Act. So all these acts in different ways counter different kind of organized crime. So you can mention one or two laws which are there to fight with organized crime. Apart from that, you can mention various conventions signed by different countries to break this linkage. United Nations Convention Against Terrorism, United Nations Convention Against Drug Trafficking, United Nations Convention Against Corruption. All this will be helpful far as this breaking of this nexus is concerned. Third, all the efforts that we have made to stop terror funding and money laundering, like FATF declaring countries who are helping terrorism in a grey list or blacklist. So the efforts to stop terror funding, Financial Action Task Force is doing some work in this regard. So all the efforts related to controlling terror funding, controlling money laundering can also be helpful. You can also suggest that respect to Interpol alerts. Interpol alerts and respect the United Nation decision related to declaring global terrorists. Like in recent United Nation Assembly, our Foreign Minister Mr. Jaishankar Prasad mentioned that some countries who harbor terror, they not even give weightage to the United Nation call of global terrorist. So you can also mention that the terrorists who are declared terrorist by the United Nations like agencies, the countries should respect them. So this can also be a suggestion that you can mention. More and more deportation treaties where you can deport the criminals of other countries in an easier manner. So deportation treaty can also be the suggestion. Sharing of intelligence, common surveillance, common joint operation against their nexus. So intelligence, surveillance and action, this can also be the suggestion. And while mentioning all these suggestions, you can suggest that in India, we do not have any definite law to fight with organized crime, although there are certain states who mentioned certain laws related to organized crime or mafia. Otherwise, there is no dedicated law to fight organized crime and the nexus of organized crime with terrorism. So now this is high time that we create a law to break this nexus. Like we have some model laws available, like UP government has created one law to fight organized crime, so which we call UP Gangster Act 1985, UP Gangster and Anti-Social Activity Prevention Act. So in the model of this act, we can have a nationwide act which can fight this nexus between the two. So although I have elaborated this question quite long, but as I said in the beginning only, that you need to write this answer in 150 words only. So all these areas that I have discussed can be mentioned in a limited manner if you want to make your answer holistic or comprehensive if you want. So let us move ahead with next question, and the next question is, what are the maritime security challenges in India? Discuss the organizational, technical and procedural initiatives taken to improve maritime security. Again, this question will be of 150 words. Now, as I said previously, to answer all these questions, all we need to do is to understand the demand of the questions, that what they are exactly expecting from you in the question. And while in this question, if you can see, the first area is the maritime security challenges. And the second area is organizational, technical and procedural initiatives taken. Now, in this question, we can add certain things on our own. First thing will be, while defining what maritime security challenges are there, we can define it along with why. That is, what and why maritime security challenges are there in India. Secondly, after defining organizational, technical, procedural initiatives, you can also define the problems that we are facing in our maritime security. That in spite of all these initiatives, there are certain problems and we can give certain suggestions. So, if this will be the format of your question, then again, you can have following blocks or following blocks of answers. First, you can define maritime security importance along with different challenges, and this can be of 50 words. Then you can use around 70 to 80 words to define organizational, technical and procedural measures. And then in the last 30 to 40 words, you can define the problems and the suggestions which are there to resolve this problem. So in the first part itself, what you will suggest that the problem of maritime security in India is important because India is the only nation having a name of the ocean on its name, Indian Ocean. Surrounded by Indian Ocean from three sides, its peninsular nature and a long coastline of around 7,516 kilometers make it more prone to the maritime security. Apart from that, our 40% of the population, our 50% plus of export goes through these coastal areas, and that is why maritime security becomes important for us. And finally, various part of our critical infrastructure like our oil refineries, our nuclear plant, our naval bases, our air bases, these are placed in the coastal areas, and because of this also we have our maritime security problems. So as I said previously, you need to define in both the ways why the problem is there and what are the problems. So why, I told you, because of Indian Ocean proximity, because of long coastline, because of distant island like Andaman and Nicobar, because of our huge population residing in the coastal areas, because of our three of the metropolitan areas or three of the big cities are in the coastal areas, because of our oil refineries, our nuclear plants, our military bases, our critical infra. So because of all these reasons, you can say that maritime security not only become a challenge, but maritime security becomes important part of Indian security. Now, as all these reasons are there, what kind of security threats we are facing in the recent time or from the past itself? So first is the Indian Ocean geopolitics. The volatile politics of Indian Ocean right from the time of Almeida, blue water policy, the superpowers fighting with each other to control Indian Ocean, their resources, their island, to control the Indian Ocean trade route. This volatile geopolitics of Indian Ocean is always a matter of concern, a matter of threat for India. Now, this geopolitics become more severe when we have China in the Coco Island, when we have America in the Diego Garcia, when we have China making ports in Colombo, Habanbota, or you can say in Gwadar. The policy of China of a string of pearls is making our maritime security a concern for us. The next thing is marine piracy. And what we have seen that previously from the Somalian coast, that is in Arabian Sea, now we have the problem of marine piracy in Malacca Strait, in Bay of Bengal and further. So now both the parts of water bodies of India, right from Arabian Sea to Bay of Bengal, we have the problem of marine piracy, and we need to take action against marine pirates in order to protect our ships, our trade, our coastal wealth, etc. So this problem of marine piracy can also be mentioned as one of the problem that we have seen in the recent time. Samudri Daku, जिसको हम कहते हैं, so that is another problem. The third concern is the ever shifting of high risk area. So high risk area is the area where the problem of marine pirates is seen, and what we have seen previously that there is a group called CGPCS group, Combat Group to Fight Pirates in Somalia, and this CGPCS group decided to shift this high risk line near to the coast of India although after Indian effort it has been removed from that place again to the Arabian Sea. But this shifting of high risk line makes trade difficult, made accident prone areas in the Arabian Sea, and that is also a kind of threat to the Indian maritime security. Various naval exercises in the Indian Ocean by the neighboring nations or the hostile nations, like naval exercise of China and Pakistan, naval exercise of other nations. This is also a kind of threat to Indian maritime security that you can say. The rich resources of Indian Ocean, we call it polymetallic nodules, and these polymetallic nodules are the matter of interest for every nation. The conflict of EEZ between the near nations like India, Sri Lanka, India, Maldives. So this control over the resources and the overlapping of EEZ at certain places is also a kind of security threat. The fight between fishermen, the capturing of fishermen, this is another security threat that we have seen. But one of the biggest security threat that we have seen is coming from the Karachi-Bombay terror route, from where we have seen the cross-water entry of terrorists, both in case of Parliament attack as well as in Taj attack. So you can define all these things, why these challenges are there and what kind of maritime security challenges are there. After defining why and what security challenges are there in the maritime security in India, you can come out to define the various initiatives that we have taken in organizational, in procedural and in technical manner to protect our maritime security. First, organizational measures, and organizational measures can be defined with the law called UNCLOS. United Nations Convention for the Law of Sea 1982 suggests that the marine boundary of a country will be defined into three. One is sovereign water, second is extended water, third is free water. It is 18 nautical mile, this is 200 nautical mile, and this is beyond 200 nautical mile. So what we have decided that this three-tier territorial arrangement should be used for the protection of marine boundaries, and we have three dedicated organizations to take care of it. So in the sovereign water, we have the coastal police. In the extended water, we have the coast guards. And then in the free water area, we have Indian Navy. So we have three-tier organizational setup to protect our maritime boundaries or our marine boundaries. And this is how you can define the organizational setup. I'm suggesting it again. In sovereign water, it is coastal police. In territorial water or extended water, we have the Coast Guard, and in the free water, we have Indian Navy to protect. Apart from these organizational efforts, we can say that we have some dedicated organizations and personals working for the maritime security, like we have Sagar Prahari, a dedicated force to protect the infrastructure in the coastline or coastal areas. So our ports, our nuclear plants, our oil refineries, and all the other public sector units are protected with the help of Sagar Prahari. Like we have the Cobra Battalion for Naxalites, we have NSG for terrorist group. Then for maritime security, we have the Sagar Prahari. Then we have also enhanced our maritime security standards with the help of development of certain warships. Like recently we have, along with Vikramaditya, we have INS Vikrant, which is commissioned in Indian Navy. Then we have our radar system, our surveillance system, our submarine system, development of torpedoes. So you can define all the defense purchases that we have made for Indian Navy in this organizational phase only, or you can define it that apart from organizational, we have certain dedicated security measures, and in the dedicated security measures we have Sagar Prahari, we have extended naval defense production. We have a new naval air base named INS Kohasa in Andaman and Nicobar. We are taking new initiatives to protect Great Nicobar because of its security concern. Right? So all this can be defined as the security measures. Now, getting into the technical measures, you can suggest that we are using information communication technology, space technology, nuclear technology, all this technology for the protection of our marine coastline or our maritime boundaries. Far as ICT is concerned, then we have NC3 system, National Command, Control, Communication, Surveillance or Intelligence System. So we call it NC3I system, National Command, Control, Communication, Intelligence System in Visakhapatnam. And this system, with the help of our various satellites, is eye in sky. So this is eye in sky to see the protection of our maritime boundaries. Then we have Marine Warship Data Center. I'll repeat it again, Marine Warship Data Center, again in Visakhapatnam, which collects the data related to marine security. Then we have a definite coastal security architecture with the help of NetGrid, where we have the intelligence related to marine security is available. So for coastal security architecture, we have NetGrid working for the intelligence purpose. Next, we are using biometric identity cards for the fishermen, for the people living in the coastal areas, so that the penetration through these areas can be restricted. So again, the word is biometric identity card that can be mentioned. After that, we have GPS tracking system in the various boats used by the fishermen, because these boats are used by terrorists to enter Indian territory. So we have GPS tracking electronic surveillance system in the boats of fishermen, and with the help of this, we can make sure that terror entry through coastline is not possible. Then use of radar, satellite navigation, all this can be mentioned in the technical measures. So I have mentioned 5, 6. If you can use 1 or 2 out of it in a technical measure, that will be more than sufficient far as this technical measure is concerned. Now, moving ahead with procedural. So what we have defined in organizational, that can also be defined as procedural. This word procedural can be used in multiple sense. The procedure that we use with other countries, the procedure that we used with technology. So when it comes to procedural, I will suggest you to highlight the diplomatic initiatives here. And in the diplomatic initiatives, this procedural and organizational can be used interchangeably. We have our initiative of Indian Ocean Rim. We have our initiative with BIMSTEC. We have our initiative with Quad. So in this procedural measure, you can get into the diplomacy and suggest that yes, we have used our foreign policy to make sure our maritime security, where the organizations like BIMSTEC, Indian Ocean Rim, Quad can help us in protecting our maritime security. To counter China's string of pearls, we are using necklace of diamond, and this necklace of diamond can also be defined as a procedural or diplomatic measure that we are using. We are doing various naval exercises. We are developing various ports right from Colombo to Chabahar in Iran. We are making efforts to have good relationship with our neighboring maritime countries, right from Indonesia to Sri Lanka to Maldives and all other neighboring nations, Mauritius, etc. We are leading the operation against marine pirates in the CGP, and we are the part of CGPCS group that can also be mentioned in the diplomatic measures. Apart from that, we are having different security agreements with America, with Russia to enhance our coastal security. So all these matters or all these measures can be defined in a diplomatic way, which will be helpful in protecting the maritime security. In the last part, you can also mention that maritime security can not only be ensured with organizational, technical and procedural measures, we need to do certain developmental measures also. And in developmental measures, you can mention the Sagarmala project. You can define the idea of Setu Samudram to connect both the coast. You can define the idea of coastal road development project, coast rail network, or reviving coastal economy with the help of new blue revolution. So mentioning 4 or 5 developmental measures will give new or another dimension to your answer, that maritime security is a multidimensional phenomena which can not only be ensured through security measures, but here all D's are important, right? From defense, diplomacy to development. Defense, diplomacy to development. All 3 D's are required if you want to ensure your maritime security or your marine boundary security. So this is the way through which you can answer this question of maritime security. Now we'll move ahead with the next question. What are the different elements of cyber security? Keeping in view the challenges in cyber security, examine the extent to which India has successfully developed a comprehensive national cyber security strategy. So the question is very simple. What are the threats of cyber security? And after defining the threats of cyber security, what you need to do, that you will define that what is Indian strategy to ensure the cyber security, what are the efforts India made to ensure national cyber security strategy in India. So while answering this question, again, you can highlight the need in 2 ways, that different elements of cyber security, again, we will define it in 2 ways. Why we have the challenges and what are the challenges. So in 50 words, you can define that why cyber security threats in India are so severe and what types of cyber security threats that we see in India. This types, elements. So these types will include the various elements that we generally say. This types will include the elements. Now, when it comes to Indian strategy, that what are the strategies that are developed by India to ensure cyber security? Again, national cyber security strategy can have all the dimensions: statutory, organizational, technical, diplomatic. So when you have multi-dimensional approach to ensure cyber security, then you can say one is awareness also. We can have a comprehensive national security strategy. So as you know that this is the question which is asked in 250 words, then there must be a definite format suggesting that what are the cyber security threats that we face, with the help of few examples, right from ransomware to Pegasus. You can mention that every time we are coming out, we are facing new cyber security threats because of various reasons, and these cyber security concerns are coming in front in different ways. After getting into this cyber security examples, need of cyber security, you can define why India is so prone. So this can be 30 words, this can be 50 words. The types can again be defined in 50 words, and then in 100 words, 25 into each, you can define the strategy. So you can begin your answer by saying that cybersecurity threats are those threats which are created with the help of information communication technology, and in the recent time, with the help of social media, these threats are multiplying very easily. We have heard about the threats of various malware attack in the form of ransomware, and we have also threat various cyber spy activities in the form of Pegasus. From global level, we have the WikiLeaks, the Snowden disclosures, and in the national level, we have the things like Pegasus and others. So while mentioning 2 or 3 examples, you can say that these threats are not only the threats to the individual, but now these are the threats to the social security as well as the national security. And the ability to create such threats is increasing day by day because of the mobile revolution, the data revolution, the computer revolution. So all these revolutions are created the environment where cyber security threats are increasing day by day. Then you will define that why India is so prone to cyber security threats. A, because we have more numbers of netizens. In next few years, we will be the country with maximum number of netizens, that is the person who uses internet. Second, cyber awareness, e-awareness, e-literacy is very limited in India. So it is like every bandar is having one ustra in his hand, and what he is going to do with this technology, no one knows. Always remember that technology is value neutral. If you use it in a positive manner, it is going to be a blessing. Otherwise, it will be a curse. And this is what happened in India, because without digital awareness, when the digital availability is there, so the misuse will be more. The third reason can be that you can define that our cyber security system is not that formidable in India. So penetration into Indian cyber security system is comparatively easier as compared to other country, as told by the various security experts. Another reason that you can define for the threats of cyber security is the potential that lie within information and communication technology. And you can say that this technology is so powerful that it can create various security challenges if used in a negative manner. The technology has the power of convergence, that is bringing together the various digital equipments together. This technology has the easy availability. This technology has remote accessibility. This technology have live effect. The 24/7 365 effect can be seen with this technology. This technology is remotely available, remotely accessible. This can be the one thing. This technology affect our senses in the direct manner in its multimedia mode or GUI mode. You can also say that this technology is having some kind of addiction effect, which is again a kind of threat to the social security of the nation. And while you define all these kind of reasons that why the cyber security threats are created with the help of ICT, now this is time to tell what are those threats. And this is the core question, that what are the different elements of cyber security, and keeping in the challenges, examine how, to which extent we have created the framework. So various elements of cyber securities can be defined in 2 ways. You can say that cyber security is the security of data. Cyber security is the security of application. Cyber security is the security of end user. Cyber security is the security of critical infrastructure. So the elements of cyber security can be defined in the form of data security, information security, application security, end user security, the security of critical infra, the security of data leak or data theft, the security of vandalism. So we can generally say that information and communication technology has 2 dimensions. One is software, another one is hardware. So hardware attack on information and communication technology, which we generally use in the form of e-bombs and etc., they will vandalize the optical fiber network. They will vandalize, you can say, the telephone, the mobile towers, the satellite towers, the VSAT things, and all this is going to be considered as hardware aspect of security. And all this what we are defining here, data, information, application, protocol security, network security, these can be the software elements of the security. But when these kind of threats are created, whether in hardware form or software form, what are the security challenges that emerge? That is the most important thing to answer. So here you can see that in this answer, we have already discussed 3 or 4 things. First thing will be, what is cyber security? Second thing will be, why we need cyber security in India and why India is so vulnerable for cyber security. Third, why information and communication technology have the potential to create the security threats. After that, you are going to define the elements which are there for cyber security, right from data to network, and then the types of cyber security threats that we face. This element and types can be used interchangeably, but when it comes to types, it is the most important area of cyber security, where we generally discuss the different type of cyber challenges. So the first and foremost will be cyber terror. Cyber terror means that terrorism is promoted with the help of information and communication technology by propagating the ideology, by creating the propaganda, for providing funding to the terrorist, for doing recruitment to for the terrorist, for doing planning and execution of terror activities. All these things can be done with the help of information communication technology that we call cyber terror. After cyber terror, there is a word called cyber spy. You must have heard that American intelligence agency CIA is being blamed to get into the network of various countries and for the theft of the secret information from these countries. Well, it is said that the American elections were manipulated by Russian cyber attack, and at the same time Russian intelligence there is a theft of Russian intelligence information by CIA. American Israel agency Mossad is also known for this. ISI is having their own network for cyber spy, and India is also working on this with the help of ethical hackers. So what you can say that cyber spy is the another area of security concern for India. The third area will be cyber vandalism, and cyber vandalism means where the cyber infrastructure get destroyed. So right from the computers to towers to optical fiber lines to satellite communication, when they get disturbed with the help of physical attack or with the help of e-bomb attack, we call it cyber vandalism. Then there is a word called cyber trafficking, and cyber trafficking is nothing but, you can say, illicit trafficking with the help of information communication technology that we see in the dark web. So there, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking, trafficking of heritage things, the trafficking of organs, the trafficking of all these things will be considered as cyber trafficking. There is also a word emerging as cyber laundering. Cyber laundering means the money laundering things done in the form of Bitcoin and other digital currency, and this is what we say that the money laundering is being done with the help of cyber technology or information or communication technology. So this is another word that we can use called cyber laundering. Then there is a word called cyber crime. So there are different kind of crime which can be related to nation for the society, like hacking, cracking, spamming, spoofing, stalking. All these words can be used, which are the cyber crime, and it is being used for the we generally use it for the purpose of individual security, social security, as well as for the national security. So different kind of these cyber crimes are also the part of it, and one of the cyber crime is malware attack. So malware attack, where with the help of virus and worms we try and capture the critical infrastructure of the other nation. This is another kind of cyber threat or cyber security threat for the nation. In the recent time, we have encountered some new threats in the form of data theft, data leak, or data privacy kind of issue. Then with social media, we have seen fake news, hate speeches, and we can also define them as a security threat for the nation, whether it is fake news or hate speech. Then promoting mob lynching is also the part of it, which we have seen in the recent time is due to this cyber world only, and most of the riots in the previous in last few years, whether from Muzaffarnagar to Delhi, they are the result of social media propagation or social media propaganda, fake news, hate speech only. Okay, so this is how you can define that there are different kind of security challenges that we have seen. Now, as we have seen all the challenges related to cyber security, it is time to come out with national cyber security strategy. And what we can say that we have made efforts towards cyber security from you can say from the beginning of 21st century, and this effort started with IT Act 2000, and then the amendment to this act is being made in 2008, 2012, time to time, to make it competent with the current scenario of cyber crime or cyber security threats. After that, apart from this IT Act, with the help of one of the section of this IT Act, we have created CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team. And this Computer Emergency Response Team is kind of cyber army for India. So in any kind of contingency cyber attacks, this Computer Emergency Response Team works as the cyber army. Then we have National Critical Infrastructure Protection Center. As the name suggests, it is to protect the critical infrastructure of the nation. We have a botnet cleaning center. This is to protect us from the malware attack. So this botnet cleaning center can be another organization which is in help. Then we have NetGrid system, and this NetGrid is kind of cyber intelligence for us. So NetGrid is also a useful tool. Then we have Cyber Swachhata Kendra, and these Cyber Swachhata Kendra in different departments, in different organizations, are to protect them from the malware attack, virus attack. So these Cyber Swachhata Kendra, you can mention. Then we have various cyber protection cells working in the different department, like in Finance Ministry, in Defense Ministry, and in Home Ministry, etc. What we can say here, that although we have made various efforts previously to protect the cyber security of the nation or to ensure the cyber security of the nation, but these efforts were not integrated. So to integrate these measures, we came out with Cyber Security Policy 2013. And in this Cyber Security Policy 2013, we decided to have multi-dimensional approach to ensure our cyber security. And it is that we have the legal provisions, we have the organizational provisions, we have the technical provisions. So with legal efforts, technical efforts, organizational efforts, we decided that we will integrate all the efforts. Like in legal, it was the IT Act. In organizational, as I mentioned, there is CERT, there is Critical Infrastructure Protection Center, there is NetGrid, there is Cyber Swachhata Kendra, etc. Then in legal efforts, it is being said that there are certain sections which are being used and which will be amended as per the need. So we have made amendment from the section 43 to 46. We have made certain amendments from 66 to 72. You can mention these sections also if required. And then in technical aspect, you can mention that we have used this password protection, biometric protection at various places. We have created antivirus system. We have created the firewall system. Then there is a cyber dome project of Kerala Police, which is in news in the recent time, where with the help of technology, we have protected us from the malware attack. So, antivirus system, firewall system, biometric system, cyber dome system, use of ethical hackers, this all you can define in this technical aspect. And then you will say that in spite of having this multidimensional strategy, due to various reasons, our cyber security is not as per the mark. So, in 2020, a committee in the leadership of Lieutenant General Rajesh Pant, that we called the Data Security Committee, they decided to come out with National Cyber Security Strategy. And this National Cyber Security Strategy is nothing but the extension of this cyber security policy that we have provided in 23. It will cover 21 areas of cyber security, and in these 21 areas there will be the provision of legal efforts, organizational efforts, technical efforts, and all these efforts will be associated with diplomatic efforts also. And now we will go for the international cooperation in the sense of cyber security. So for international cooperation, there is a provision of Paris Call in 2019, and this is an intergovernmental effort to ensure cyber security with the help of each other, with information sharing, common intelligence, common action, common protection. These things will be there. Then we have Global Tech Accord, and this Global Tech Accord is a private sector effort where top 50 IT companies of the world will work together to protect the data. They will work together to protect the data. So this is Global Tech Accord, is another diplomatic effort that we can mention. You can also mention that India is having various cyber security agreements, especially with the countries like America, Israel, Britain, France, to ensure that they will have the efficient technology to protect their critical infrastructure. You can also mention the name of few of the committees in the recent time, like there is a Shri Krishna committee, on the recommendation of which we have the Personal Data Protection Bill, which is being withdrawn in the recent time. But for the purpose of data protection, you can say that Shri Krishna committee came out with the recommendation of personal data, commercial data, governmental data protection in a different way. So this committee's report and recommendations can help in future for the data protection. For the purpose of hate speech, we have created Vishwanathan Commission, and this Vishwanathan Commission or committee also helped us to, by giving their recommendation to make severe provisions with regard to hate speech. So mention of Shri Krishna committee, Vishwanathan committee can also add a point to your answer, and at the end you will say that this strategy that we have derived in 2020 can be successful if we can coordinate all the measures of cyber security in an efficient manner, and for this coordination we need the cooperation of technocrat, bureaucrat and politicians together, or especially the technocrat and the bureaucrats together. So this is how you can answer this question, which is of 250 words, that is 15 marker, in this manner. Now, let us move ahead with the last question of internal security, which is related to development and economic deprivation. And there is always a question that whether development is underdevelopment result to Naxalism or not. So there is a question that Naxalism is a socio-economic developmental issue. So they are saying that it is socio-economic and developmental issue. We need to justify it with our arguments that yes, it is a socio-economic and developmental issue. Manifesting as a violent internal security threat. So in the beginning they are saying that it is this issue. Then they are saying that it is manifested in various ways, or it is manifesting as the security threat. Then multi-layered strategy. So if they are saying multi-layered strategy, so multi-layered can be a vertical layer or the horizontal segmentation. You can define in both ways. To tackle the menace of Naxalism, what can be the multi-layered strategy? So as it is the question of 250 words, in the beginning, you will introduce or get into the answer in 30 to 50 words while defining the Naxalism as a socio-developmental or socio-economic developmental deprivation phenomenon. After defining it, you will come out in almost 100 words with the reason which make it such phenomena. Then in another 50 words, you are going to define that how Naxalism is becoming the security threat to the nation. And then at the end, you will tell us about, you can make it of 75 words, and in another 75 words, you are going to define the multi-layered strategy. So you can start this question by saying that Naxalism, which is a kind of economic terrorism, manifests itself as the highest internal security threat of India, as told by our ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh. It is a struggle started in the form of fight of landless against landlords, but later converted into an anti-national movement challenging the unity and integrity of the nation. Because of its ideology of class conflict, it has the inclination towards left, and it is also called Maoism, Leninism, or left-wing extremism, and having the slogan to create Sarvhara Ganatantra, that is universal republic. And this idea of Sarvhara Ganatantra, that is the republic of all by public government or Jan Sarkar, which makes it quite popular among the deprived people, and these deprived people become the basis of Naxalism. Then after this, you will tell us that why it is social phenomena, economic phenomena, and developmental phenomena. Now, you can define it as a social phenomena because it relates to the fight of Jal Jangal Jameen of the tribe. So when in the tribal area, tribals face the loot of their resources, the loot of their culture, then they find it, they associated them to the Naxalites. It is an economic phenomena because what we have seen that on the name of development, we have created a great void between the rich and poor, and this void at different places given opportunity to the left-wing people to promote it as a disparity or created by the government, and anti-government movement can be started from there. Poverty, unemployment, malnourishment, hunger, all these things can be manifested as a economic phenomena which lead to the Naxalism. Then comes the developmental deprivation, and what we have seen that whether it is urbanization, industrialization, infrastructural development, certain places are being deprived from this, and these are the remote tribal places of MP, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Jharkhand, and that is why in these regions we have seen that the Naxalism emerged like anything. There is also one thing that we call triple junction theory, and triple junction theory is the combination of all such issues. In triple junction theory, Naxalite identified those areas which are having multi-state boundaries, difficult terrain, and a demography that suits them. So they have created their hub right from Karimnagar in Andhra Pradesh to Jagdalpur to Balaghat in Madhya Pradesh to Jagdalpur in Chhattisgarh, where the triple junction theory can get associated, and this triple junction theory helped them to create the guerrilla war and to come out as a red corridor in many of the states of India. So the manifestation of this Naxalism in India as an internal security threat is something that we have seen in the post-90s era. Although it started in 1966-67 as the fight of landless people, deprived people, but the journey of Naxalism is full of ups and downs. But after 1990s, due to various reasons, due to the deprivation of LPG, due to more and more industrialization, due to urban development on the cost of rural areas. What we have seen that Naxalism get intensified, and in 2004 there was a Naxal Mahapanchayat in Jagdalpur where all the Naxalite groups having internal disturbances, they came together in the form of CPI Maoist, and then what we have seen that Naxal activities increased manifold. And the time between 2004 to 2014, or you can say 12, when we see the peak of Naxalism in India in the form of Gadchiroli, in the form of Ziram Valley or Darbha Valley, where they not only started they attacked the security personnel, but even the politicians were killed in the Naxal attacks. So the manifestation can be shown in the form of Red Corridor, in the form of the data that almost 13 plus states and 500 plus districts get affected. Then from Tirupati to Pashupati, there is a spread of Naxalism. The control of Naxalism in the certain areas of Chhattisgarh, certain areas of Odisha, Jharkhand, where they have the parallel government running. You can say that Naxal Jan Adalats were there. Then we have the manifestation of Naxalism in the form of urban Naxals, which are there, urban Naxals, and they are those Naxals who are capable, educated, they are economically wealthy, and they are creating the new breed of Naxalites in India through the universities, through colleges, through schools, through the minority appeasement. And once this manifestation is being described, that how we see this Naxalism in the different places of India, you will say that after 2012, what we have decided that we will have a multi-layered strategy to tackle the Naxalism. Now there is two words, one is multi-dimensional and second is multi-layered. When we talk about multi-dimensional, then we are going to say that we are going to tackle Naxalism with security measures, developmental measures, diplomatic measures, technical measures, and we can say, yes, this is what we called multi-layered also. That on the one side, we are telling about this is security. Boli. Then we are talking about Goli. Now diplomacy again is about Boli, and technology is more or less associated to Goli. So this is one way to define multi-layered or multi-dimensional approach. In security measures, we have the different kind of schemes for weaponization, modernization, deployment of soldiers, enhanced intelligence. Then we have technologies to enhance the security in the form of night vision sensors, thermal imagers, underground sensors, radar equipments. When we come to development, then there are three ways that we can define. First, by civic action plan, by making roads there, by disaster help, winning the heart of the local people and creating the local intelligence, we call it civic action plan. Then we have regular elections there so that we can associate them to the mainstream politics. Then fast and rapid infrastructural development in the form of road, buildings, electricity, schools, hospitals, etc. Then there is a definite policy of surrender, and this surrender policy in various states like the states in Chhattisgarh helped very much to bring the Naxalites in the mainstream. What you can say that we can divide the Naxals into two groups. Naxals by choice and Naxals by compulsion. Majboor Naxal, Majboot Naxal. Those who are Naxals by choice, we should have zero tolerance policy towards them, and we should use all the security measures by using the trained forces like Cobra Battalion, Greyhound forces, or you can say Bastaria Battalion. You can have the operations against them like Operation Green Hunt, Operation Prahar. So zero tolerance strategy and trained forces and rapid action should be taken. The urban Naxal should be arrested and fast track court should give the address, and all this is going to help in controlling the Naxalism. But those Naxals which are Naxals by compulsion, not by choice, they should have the right to develop, and they should have the developmental strategy with them, where we will provide them rapid infrastructural and community services growth. We will provide them opportunity to surrender with a surrender policy. We will bring them in the mainstream with the help of election. We will assist them with civic action plan. We will help them in skill development, disaster management, and all this is going to help in bringing those Naxals back to home, because these are not the people who are anti-national, but these are the people who lost their way in between, especially in the case of tribal people. And far as diplomatic efforts are concerned, what we need to do, that we need to break the linkage of Naxals with the other anti-national organizations of India, like the terror outfits of Kashmir, the terror outfits of Northeast. Sometimes we have seen the linkage of them with Litte also. So all this kind of linkage should be broken, either by discussion or by surgical strike or action at those places, as we did in Myanmar also. So the linkage with Khalistanis, Kashmiri terrorists, or you can say the linkage with Northeast terrorists, should be broken with the diplomatic effort, and this can be one way to answer this. Technological, I have already answered. Another way to define it in a multi-layered way, you can say that in the federal structure of India, we have to provide them three-tier leadership at all the level. That is, the central government, the state government, and the local government should cooperate with each other in this multi-dimensional strategy. So this is how you can associate multi-dimension to them. At central government level, we have a separate department of internal security in the Home Ministry, and there we have anti-Naxal combat cell. Then the specialized central agencies like NIA and the intelligence agency like IB RAW can help us in the anti-Naxal operations. When it comes to state government, then we have the trained forces in the form of Cobra Battalion, Bastaria Battalion, and they, along with the help of police personnel at the state level and police intelligence of the state level, can work together. And at the level of local government, we can have the local intelligence, and we can prepare the local people to fight against Naxal, as we did in the case of Salwa Julum in Chhattisgarh. So local youth of the local level can be mobilized to fight the anti-Naxal operation. So this multi-dimensional strategy, along with the three-tier layered strategy, can be the way to fight the Naxal menace of Naxal. This strategy was also provided in an abbreviation called Samadhan. So any of these three can be used at the last part of the answer in the multi-layered strategy. When it comes to Samadhan, so this also is an indication of multi-layered strategy. It is propounded by Mr. Rajnath Singh in 2017 December, when there was a multiple Naxal attacks in the state of Chhattisgarh. So he came out with this strategy, which can be called multi-dimensional, multi-layered strategy to fight Naxalism. And in Samadhan, S indicates this only: smart leadership. And smart leadership at the central level, at the state level, at the local level, and they should come together, coordinate with each other. So smart leadership at political level, smart leadership at the level of defense forces, smart leadership at the level of bureaucracy, all this is going to help in counter the Naxal operation. Then we have A, aggressive strategy. And aggressive strategy means the zero tolerance policy for those Naxals where we do not find any possibility of coming back. Then M is motivation and training. And what we need, that those who are fighting the Naxals at the ground level in the form of guerrilla war, they need regular motivation in the form of monetary motivation, emotional motivation, the kind of applaud they need, and this kind of motivation and the fight to combat there in an effective manner, they need a efficient training of guerrilla war. Then A is actionable intelligence. There is always a gap between the intelligence and the security agency. This gap needs to be filled. So intelligence at the right time from where the action can be taken, this is called actionable intelligence. Then D is dashboard based system, where we have the KPI and KRA, key performance indicator and key result areas. So even if you are going to mention the words only, it is going to be too much. So only Samadhan can be the answer to your multi-layered strategy. If you want, you can have this 3-tier to define it, or you can have the developmental measure, technical measure, security measure, diplomatic measure. So any one way can be sufficient enough to define the strategy, whatever you find efficient enough to deal with multi-layered strategy. Then dashboard based system is the record keeping system to tell you that how many incidents that we have seen, what is the performance of any police station or any personnel in this regard. Then there is harnessing technology, that use of the modern technology as defined in the movie called Newton. And when we have the modern technology with us, we will be well equipped with the technology, then the fight against Naxal will become easier. Then A is action plan for each theater. And action plan for each theater means that for every Naxal battle, we need different strategy. No one strategy can be useful at all the areas. So if you are fighting Naxal in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Maharashtra, MP, the different strategy can be used. And N is no to finance, that all the sources of finance that Naxals have needs to be curbed, needs to be restricted. So this is how you can provide the multi-layered strategy, by saying in optimistic way that with this multi-layered strategy, it is quite possible that the fight against Naxal, which is continue right now, will get success in the near future and will be able to reduce this red corridor as much as possible by 2025. So this is how you can answer all the questions of internal security. I believe that with all this explanation, you will have a first-hand understanding that what should be the way to answer the different questions in internal security. Although I have defined it in quite detail, so it took a lot of time, but when it comes to answer them, you need to present it in a lucid and perfect manner, which is required over there. So I hope that you will be able to understand the way of answer writing with this explanation, and we'll meet again with another segment. Thank you very much.